What's poppin', y'all? We back, man, with a little bit of more extra little news, though. You know what I'm saying? It's like not crucial, but it's like it's still news, man. So it's up to us to still try to bring news to y'all about different little things. But the plane crash in DC, man, there's this guy, you know what I'm saying? They about to explain, you know what I'm saying, what happened for real or whatever, or allegedly, because we got to say allegedly because we really don't know. That's why I'm about to show y'all the video so we can see it together, and then y'all let me know, because I know AI taking over, AI doing things, you know what I'm saying? But this was a real conversation between these two dudes right here. So we're gonna get it in, man. I'll let y'all listen to it. I ain't gonna stop it. We get it in, then we discuss it later. You know what I'm saying? And y'all hit it in the comment box on what y'all think. If y'all interested in that, you know what I'm saying? So people just all about music. They don't want to know about the news. You know what I'm saying? But our job is to be diversified and bring y'all everything. This is YouTube. You know what I'm saying? We tubing what we do. And it's up to y'all if y'all watch it or not. Like, share, subscribe, though, baby. You know what I'm saying? Y'all over here with a good one now. Let's go, though.
Alex, thank you so much for coming on and educating us. We've previewed some of the footage that's been shocking the internet world round, and we had a senator on right before you, brother, that said, It looks like this helicopter just targeted the plane. That's what Ron Johnson said. I'm sure that's going to make quite a bit of news. Yeah. So the floor is yours, Alex. Why don't you first off explain your history with these helicopters and these implements, and then explain, as we play some of the B-roll, what you believe happened here.
Sure, appreciate it, Benny. So, and just building off Tom there, congratulations to you and your amazing wife and the beautiful family and the successful quest not to raise little communists. So that's quite the feat. Appreciate it. So as everybody's watching,
to fly safe, to live in a safe country, exactly.
And to live in a safe country. Yes. I purposely didn't say anything there just to let folks watch the video that's sort of coming in. So I want to provide some context. So as Benny mentioned, flown a number of combat missions in the back of these things in over Iraq, other places as well. And then particularly here in the DC area, I finished up at the Pentagon as Chief of Sensitive Activities for Special Operations and Combating Terrorism about 10 years ago or so. So what you're looking at there, obviously, is the helicopter, T-boning. It looks like the side of the aircraft coming in. So just to give everybody some reference, there are several aviation units in the area, this one based out of Fort Belvoir, that provide executive transport to senior officials in the DC region. This particular flight, according to the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, yesterday, was in the middle of an annual recertification nighttime flight as part of supporting what's called continuity of government. So if everybody remembers, after 9/11, President Bush was flown around the country and one Air Force base to another because they triggered that emergency plan. That's if somebody's after our government, we need to move officials to safe locations. Our government exists in Washington, D.C. That's where it's physically located. God forbid there was another attack and we needed to move President Trump, his cabinet, senior members of Congress. These are the military assets that would do it. It doesn't exist in the middle of an open field in the middle of the country where there's no infrastructure or other planes or stuff around. It's in a downtown metropolitan area. So the first question asked this morning by Josh Howley was, what was this even doing happening here? We train as we fight. In a real-time emergency, we would be in the middle of a downtown, area like this, and the flights would occur. So that's the reason why it was happening. Right now, the flight pattern that's normal for DC helicopters, right, for moving, which by the way fly every day, is the Beltway, the Ring Road 495 that goes around the Capitol. And then to the west of the city, the Potomac River is there. And then the flight plan will also take you down the Potomac River, which does cross paths with the runways at Reagan Airport, which is where the American Airlines flight was landing. So a couple other things to keep in mind. I think everybody's probably seen movies where they believe there's all these, screens with these massive flashes and radars. It's a military helicopter. There isn't a really great warning system that they're about to run into something. So that's one. You hear the communication with the tower going back and forth saying, hey, helicopter, the call sign, and you see it there, Pat 25. There's, your incoming aircraft, and he said, Roger, visual, I'm going to maintain visual distance. And so that's his cue from the tower, letting them know there's a plane coming somewhere in the path. So there's been a couple of things that have been said, and then this morning's video adds a different angle to this and some potential different context. And that was that the pilots may have been looking at a potential different aircraft that was coming in. They also had night vision on. And for those of you who have not had a night vision system, they're literally tubes that look like this. You end up with tunnel vision. You also end up with a bit of depth perception issues with that as well. If they're the older nods, it could have been green as opposed to white. So who knows what they were looking at the time. That's all sort of speculation what they were looking at. And they were told basically to come in behind the aircraft. So this looks like a straight shot, as you can see it here. There's been some comments made about altitude potentially being off course, trying to find their way. They may have not been in the right spot. And as they were coming, Is it a question of spatial disorientation where the pilot, thought they were lower where they were, but the gauges are all there and trying to come behind the aircraft? You can also hear on the radio, they're perfectly calm in the communications with the tower. There's no hint of a problem. You don't hear anything from the co-pilot trying to chime in as if there's an issue or one way or the other that something's, nefarious going on. And there's just an impact. And chances are, because the lighting on the helicopter, the American Airlines plane probably didn't even see the helicopter off to its side. So how that T-bone happened, and it looks like, again, a direct, into the side of the aircraft, you'd hear engines roaring. You potentially see those flashing of the lights if you were looking with night vision. The video from this morning raises more questions than there are answers right now.
So, I mean, and again, I hate to be the person that puts all the patterns together here, but we've seen sort of crisis after crisis, and let's just call it a deadly incident after deadly incident that I think primes people to say, what's going on in our military? Is there a vetting issue? Is there a mental health issue? Is there like nefarious fifth column activity going on? You just had a senator, Alex, on the show saying this helicopter targeted that plane and it flew right into the side of it. Now here's footage.
Sure.
And I prepped my team for this.
Hold on, real quick though, y'all. All I want to say is, anytime that we see that that's happening back to back as they show it, you're showing actual people as that hit, they die immediately. You know what I'm saying? That's cold right there, man. I am scared of getting in the air. It's like it's more safer because there's less traffic than down here, and there's no greater way to go. But I still rather be on the ground. At least I can get out the car and still do something. Up there, if it blow up, man. It's two ways to go. It's you up there, blow up, you gone. If it crash, you gone. I'm scared. All right, let's get it.
Because this is the footage that I think is almost the most damning, where you can see, bro, the planes. This is a 67-second clip, and you can see the planes flying at each other for the entire time.
Sure.
And it becomes almost impossible to say that these planes didn't see one another. At least the military chopper didn't see the inbound plane or hear it. And so it just raises some very dark questions, man.
Well, I think you raised a couple of points because there's been, a number of incidents lately. The terrorist attack we saw in New Orleans, from a veteran there was absolutely somebody who had been indoctrinated as a terrorist afterwards, yes, radicalized and conducted the attack. The feedback on the Green Beret and the probably one of the most bizarre incidents I've seen in terms of the explosion in the Cybertruck outside Trump Tower, using like fireworks and like a propane tank. I mean, if we look at those things, you get a basic level of explosives training in special forces qualification courses, and then your individual specialty, right? I mean, there's an engineer, a member of the team, the Charlies in terms of the 18 series, who specializes in explosives, but everybody gets some basic training. Anybody who's done basic explosives would know that the crap that was put in the back of the Cybertruck is not going to do any damage. It's not going to actually, it's not a bomb per se in that sense, right? You're missing a main explosive charge with something there. That guy had some serious mental health issues that came out afterwards. So you have one terrorist incident. This one
just took off right there.
In this particular case, with pilots. I mean, the explanation sort of going into it, perhaps tunnel vision, looking at the wrong, plane coming up to it, where there's a harder time. And I think, that was the senator's sentiment is, as you get closer, right? Okay, I missed the aircraft at first. I'm looking at the wrong one and everything else. But how did nobody see the flashing lights from the side of the aircraft, right? How did nobody hear the roar of the engines coming in? And even at the last second, if it was the last second, oh my God, I'm about to hit. There doesn't appear to be in the video any movement to take evasive maneuvers from the helicopter itself. So that's where the major question point is right now. What was transpiring inside that aircraft at that moment that they didn't see it when it was, that close in front of them, that neither the pilot or co-pilot were looking out the windshield to see that, and the crew chief didn't see it either. Unless there's communications they haven't released that suggest that the pilots, or the crew chief saw it and didn't react, that just leaves more questions than anything else right now.
So I want to jump over to your post here on X when you responding to Senator Josh Hawley. You mentioned that and referenced that. My production team grabbed it. This is something that President Trump has been saying, and he said again this morning, the helicopter was not where it was supposed to be.
Yep.
The helicopter was too high. It wasn't on a approved pathway. The commander-in-chief is saying this helicopter should not be there. But you're saying that this was a training operation and that actually it was certified to be there. Who's right here?
So both actually. So Pete Hegseth yesterday said it was a continuity of government operation annual training certification flight. So the flight was supposed to be taking place. They were moving down the river, but they were a half mile off course, according to the president's tweets, I think, that were out, and also 400 feet in the air when the ceiling is supposed to be 200. So they were outside of whatever their approved pattern was. And if you look at the flight map, at one point,
if I may, Alex,
yeah,
I'm sorry, I don't have a habit of interrupting, but
no, go ahead.
What the hell, man? Why then? Why? How is that possible? How could you be twice the height that you're supposed to be flying? And you said veering quite radically off course.
Yeah.
How would that be? How is that permissible?
Excellent question. So, I mean, if you have to take a look at a few things, right? So, illumination, was it dark where they were? Did they move up in the air because they were afraid they were going to hit something? What I haven't seen, so we've all seen the flight pattern. What I haven't seen is an elevation change to see if it went up or down at any point. That's the one piece of data that's missing. So, were they flying that the whole time when they weren't supposed to be? And right before that, there was a rapid movement across the river over a period of land, over a piece of land. And the river is the visual check mark for most of the pilots to let them know that they're on course when they're flying over, right? And you can see the lighting here, right? It's not pitch black at the time it took place. And it's also in a fairly, dense urban environment. You can see the lighting in the background there across the river. You can see it. You see the plane in the foreground. So it's taken from DCA facing outbound towards the other Maryland side of the river, towards Maryland, towards what's actually Bolling Air Force Base, the headquarters of the Defense Intelligence Agency, is right off the coast there. So as it's coming in and it hits the side of the aircraft, it's not pitch black. So again, the questions you raised need to be answered, because why were they that high? Why were they off course? How did nobody see it right before it hit the aircraft? And again, even if you were off course and if you were looking at the wrong aircraft on approach, trying to swing behind it, how at the last minute, there's no evasive actions being taken there. Like, as you can see, I'm going to play again because it's in the background. Yes. Watch the helicopter coming straight across there on the left, right into the side of the aircraft. Yes. There doesn't appear to be any movement to show that the helo was taking an evasive action. So either the pilot, again, wrong, thinking that they were going to be able to swing behind it and the plane was moving faster than it was, but it's still exceptionally close. And, it doesn't explain no evasive action at the end.
I want to establish just one more time your pedigree, because you have been in war zones. You've flown on these birds in war zones. In Iraq, in Afghanistan, you've been fired upon inside of these instruments by the United States military are created and designed in order to keep you flying and in order to keep maneuverability and the capacity to evade any type of an RPG, a missile that is shot at you. Like, these are sophisticated pieces of equipment. Am I correct in that assessment?
You are. The pilots can take immediate evasive action, and just a move in the stick, and they're able to move the aircraft any direction they want. It's clear they're on a straight line flight path from what's in that video.
It's like they could hover. I mean, you could be going forward and you could almost hover almost instantly. Is this correct? You could up or down. You could move up or down very quickly. Yes. Yeah,
and you'd see the nose of the aircraft would come up or the airframe would come up a little bit, and it would stop, and then it would hover, it would bounce on its rotors a little bit. You don't see sort of any of that. You don't see the tail kicking left or right as if it's trying to turn. You don't see it pitching or yawing in any direction, trying to move. It's just a straight line. So, I mean, what it says is there's a couple of theories you can run down. Again, right now we got more questions than we have answers to, but did they really not see it, and how did nobody see that coming into it, or was there something else that took place inside that aircraft? And right now we don't have the data to answer that.
Man, I guess watching this chilling footage and living in DC, and I know you've lived in DC, at least it's a gallows observation, but at least it didn't happen over, at least this crash didn't happen over a huge neighborhood, right? Or a bunch of,
it was
or a government building or a tour bus, right, full of children. And it could have been even more horrifying, frankly.
I mean, again, you're right. So the good thing is that after 9/11, right, they restricted the airspace over the Capitol for commercial aircraft, although there was one that deviated directly over the Capitol during this incident, trying to clear the airspace, which was unusual. And the helos are meant to go down the river. So if it was going to occur anywhere, this would have been the spot to do it. And I've been on the DC Air National Guard helicopters that fly over that region as well. If you commission into a reserve or guard unit in the area out of the, Georgetown's the main ROTC, classmates of mine did, that's where you end up as in the aviation unit. I've been fortunate enough to fly on that pattern, and it's really kind of beautiful. You fly over the river, you see our nation's capital, all of our instruments of power and democratic institutions that are downtown. You can see the Capitol, the White House. It's really fantastic. So to see, something like this happen, the tragedy unfolded, is just, it's awful. The loss of life on board that aircraft is senseless. And I mean, it's clear, very clear something went wrong, because folks will say, oh, it was, why were you training there? We train as we fight, if that's going to happen. Do training protocols need to be looked at? Absolutely. Or flight protocols to see what happened. But at the end of the day, we still need to be able to move people. And our adversaries in the event of an attack are not going to, hey guys, can you hold up on the terrorist attack? Or, hey, let us wait 20 minutes to clear the airspace. Like, that's not realistic. It's not going to happen. So these flights are going to need to start again. So somebody's going to have to get to the bottom of this and find out what the hell happened.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I don't want to go to the dark place, right? I don't want to go to the last thing you want to put out there is that this was someone did this intentionally.
Yeah.
It's just the evidence is starting to really become quite overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah, it's raising questions. You're right. I mean, that's
quite overwhelming that something bad, something truly dark happened here. I want to put up Alex's X profile. I need everybody to go over and follow Alex. This is him actually in the photo. This is him in the cover image right there in Iraq.
Yeah, I lied to mom and told her a desk job in Kuwait, and then I ended up on the front page of the New York Times. That's the third battle scene, American Sniper, in Insider City. So she was a little pissed, to say the least.
Okay. While everybody goes over and follows Alex, we're going to get him up to 100,000. Alex is just one of these people that has such a strong voice and such a clear, rings like a bell, and is always constantly, no matter who's in the White House, fighting for our American service members and for the betterment of the men and women in our armed services. Give me a score for Pete Hegseth. He's only been in the chair for a couple days, but give me a score. Give me a score for the new SecDef.
It's actually been quite impressive to watch in terms of his responsibility. For those who don't know, too, Pete's responsibility as a SecDef is outward facing. It's operations overseas. It's engagement with Congress and with the Hill. All the stuff with the anti-woke, DEI, all that. That's actually the deputy secretary and the services to handle. So right away there was a crisis overseas. We tried to extend the ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. You had to get the agreement back on track between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and making sure the prisoner exchanges took place, having to react very quickly to the president's orders to expand the facility at Guantanamo to add more folks down there. Whether you agree with the policies or not, it doesn't matter. He is the Secretary of Defense taking orders in the White House, and he is doing what needs to be done. And those were two significant tests overseas right away to see if the administration would be able to handle. And, and he did quite well in his part for getting those things done.
I love this, man. Just in closing, I love this. His conversations from the desk, from the SecDef desk, the transparency, the showing us of the documents and what's actually happening and the readouts. Man, it's so, based on what we've just been through for the last 4 years, where it feels like we've just been perpetually lied to or at least obfuscated by the Department of Defense and those in our government. It rings like a bell, man. It's just so beautiful to see. At least you feel like there's adults in the room,
It certainly does. And you've got a guy who's a communicator, who's a Princeton graduate, who's sitting there in the chair, communicating directly, not going through the press secretary on this one. So you're hearing from the horse's mouth. This wasn't an attempt to sort of avoid responsibility. I'm in charge. Here's what's going on, and here's what's happening. That's not much more you can ask for, right?
Hey, not much more you can ask for. Godspeed, Alex. Thank you so much for your service, and please be a regular on the show. Be our correspondent into all of this, because we want to give people accurate information. You're the man for it.
At your disposal, brother. Anytime you need. Congratulations. Thanks again for having me.
My brother.
All right, y'all. So all I say is just stay informed and continue to research whatever they put on the news, just in case if it's a speculations or if it's allegedly. You know what I'm saying? But from what I seen on there, I basically said that dude said straight up, if a plane coming like this the helicopter, he said that it automatically can go up or down. It's like seeing the plane. You can go down or around, so he said it is capable of doing that. It didn't do that. So, but we ain't gonna get no speculations with the speculated. You feel me? They said, hey, but man, the people that died on the plane, man, that was sad, because as soon as it crashed, they all died. Then they went into freezing cold water, hypothermia. Come on, man. Sad way to go, man. I love human beings, man, all over the world, man. And it's sad on how some of them go from a mistake, from an accident, or something that could have been avoided. People are supposed to live until your body shut down. You just can't make it no more. That's how people supposed to die. But sometimes it's nature and everything makes it the design different, man. So everybody stay safe, man. I love y'all. We up out of here, man. Coolest dude on YouTube, man. We gone.